Alright, alrighty. Do, 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 do. Okay. Alright, guys. Why does me putting my arm out here change it? That's that's really weird. Look at that. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Alright, guys. Where should we start? Ba-dum, 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 bum, bum. Ba-dum, 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 bum, bum. Someday. I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight.
Yes, you're lovely with your smile so warm and your cheeks so soft.
Okay.
There is nothing for me but to love you
Alright.
and the way
So,
you
I think we're gonna do some Minecraft Lego. This should be fun. So,
with
yeah.
each word your
What are we thinking, guys?
grows, tearing my fear apart.
And I laugh. And wrinkles your nose.
Touches my
Foolish heart. I just tore the box. I'm very upset now. There's stupid tape on it.
lovely.
I put tape on a Lego box.
Never change. Keep that breathless charm. Won't you please arrange it? 'Cause I love you just the way you look tonight.
Boxes inside of boxes.
And that lie
So this is what we've got.
that wrinkles your nose. It touches
We've got this little nether portal set. Looks like a little,
lovely.
what would you call it? Just like a little base. We got some armor stands and stuff.
Keep that
And you get a chest full of your valuables, all your loot. Looks like, is this supposed to be netherite? Because that kind of looks like obsidian. Anyway. I get another portal. Right? And then we got this one. Let's see, what is this? Just looks like something someone built. Some like those are the Spencers. Or the droppers. Whichever one you use to shoot arrows. I don't remember which one's which. And then you got your pillagers. They're doing the raid. You get your raid leader. That's pretty cool. Moving on to the next one. Ah, we got the other part of this set, which is the nether part, so we can put them together. That's cool. And, it's just a desert one. Oh, and it has my least favorite mob. Stupidest one. And then this is just a little itty bitty set. Oh. Oh. We've got our Minecraft Lego sets now. So, which one should we do first?
And then I go and spoil it all by saying something stupid like I love you. I can see it in your eyes that you despise the same old lies you heard the night before.
So we're gonna turn the bit rate down actually. Let's see.
Though it's just a line to you, for me it's true and never seemed so right before. I practice every day to find some clever lines to say to make the meaning come through.
I'm gonna have to reset Twitch to do that. I'll just do that later. It wants me to give it a lower bit rate, so I'll mess with that some other time. Okay.
The time is right, your perfume fills my head, the stars get red and oh, the
I'm gonna get a better light with better diffuser. Let's see, I got this sheet of silicone that goes on a phone screen glass thing. If I put that over top of that, it does almost nothing. Well, I guess we'll just have to make do. I want to go for this one first. Go for a little one. Oh, I forgot to post about this stream on X, or Twitter. It's always going to be Twitter to me, not going to lie.
And then I go and spoil it all by saying something stupid like I love you.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. You'd be like heaven to touch. I wanna hold you so much. At long last, love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you. Pardon the way that I stare. There's nothing else to compare.
Drop anything?
The sight of you leaves me weak.
Maybe what is
There
this?
are no
It's
words
like a green
to
Lego.
speak. But if you feel like I feel, please let me know that it's real.
That actually doesn't look like that goes to what this set. Looks like I just found a random Lego. Let's just set that over here on the shelf behind me. Okay. Well, I guess we get to read this little instruction booklet. Ooh, not even a booklet. It's one of the fold-out ones like you get at IKEA. Alright. Instructions. Yeah, I need them. I'm just here. Alright, let's do this. Put a little minifig together. There we go. Oh, gotta give her her diamond sword now.
Can't take my eyes off of you. You'd be like heaven to touch. I wanna hold you so
We could build a skeleton.
last love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you.
Bum, ba, bum, 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 ba, bum, ba, bum, bum. Isn't this supposed to go in his... Yeah, okay, so it's supposed to go in here like this. I guess that's how it's supposed to go. So we'll put these guys over here. The center of gravity is a little too far forward. Alright. Wish I could reroute this cable. This goes to the webcam. Oh, calm down. Oh, I have it hanging from the ceiling off of a wire and an aluminum post. It was the best I could come up with. It took me like 20 minutes to set up, so I'm not even that concerned about quality of it. Start with this little bad boy. With this little 1x2 with center stud. It appears that we put the little round green nub. Yep. Not this one. On it. Falling in love with you.
Like a river flows
Surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Take my hand.
take my whole life too.
There we go. So what are those supposed to be? Blueberries? I think so.
Falling in love with you. Like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be.
Okay. You get the flip.
Take my whole
Pick some brown stud, put it on the bottom. For I can tell, falling in love with you.
for I can't help falling in love with
So what is this supposed to be? An azalea bush, I think? In Napoli, where love is king, when boy meets girl, here's what they say. Bum 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 bum. Here's what we got so far. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. Seems to shine like you've had too much wine, that's amore. Bells will ring, ting-a-ling-a-ling, ting-a-ling-a-ling, and you'll sing Vita Bella. We make sure that's it. Yep.
hearts who play tippy-tippy-tay, tippy-tippy-tay, like a guitarandella.
Well, there's that little thing done. We got some extras.
When the stars make you drool, just like a pastifazool, that's amore. When When you dance down the street with a cloud at your feet, you're in love. When you walk in a dream, but you know you're
So,
not
we got our little characters.
signore.
We're gonna stick them on here.
Scusa me, but
And
you see
that's the first Lego set done for the day.
Napoli, that's amore.
I've got quite a few to do, so we're gonna be here for a while. Oh, a big pizza pie, that's amore. When the world seems to shine like you've had too much wine, that's amore. Bells will ring, ting-a-ling-a-ling, Vita Bella. Hearts will play tippy-tippy-tay, tippy-tippy-tay, like a guitar bella.
Lucky fella. When the stars make it blue, just like pasta fazool, that's amore. When you dance on the street with a cloud at your feet, you're in love.
I like to keep the boxes in mostly good shape so I can display them next to my sets. It's a shame that this one didn't come in a box and it's just a bag, you know?
You're not dreaming, signore.
Okay, this is gonna go back here. This set, throw this away. Take my extras from the last set, and you know what we do with them? We throw them across the room. I'm joking. I have a bin somewhere. Oh, there it is. Gotta grab it.
My funny Valentine,
So I put a bunch of my extras.
comic Valentine, you make me smile with my heart.
Okay.
Your looks are laughable, unphotographable, yet you're my favorite of all. Is your figure less than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak?
I guess since the pieces are split up into these two bags, you've got to open both.
Are you smart? But don't change your mind for me. Not if you care for me. Stay.
To build our little mini figure now.
Each day is Valentine's Day.
Yesterday was Valentine's Day, buddy. You're a little late.
Is your figure
Less than Greek. I should have built Legos yesterday. Would have been the perfect way to remain single throughout the day.
when you open it to speak? Are you smart? But
Our
don't
2x3 plate.
change your hair for me.
Ooh, it's a custom piece.
Not
Looks like it's for the llama.
care for me.
There it is.
Stay,
Oh,
little
Valentine's Day.
Each day is Valentine's Day.
Here, let me turn music down for you guys just a little bit. There, it's supposed to be a little background noise. For me, I like singing, so you're gonna hear a lot of that, and if you don't like it, you should probably not be here this stream, not gonna lie. Ba ba bum ba bum ba ba bum ba bum ba ba bum. I ain't never been with a woman long enough for it to get old. You know, I have a record player over there with this song on it. If I ever settle down, you'd be my kind. Heard it in a love song. Heard it in a love song. Heard it in a love song. Can't be wrong. Like to get away. I could start dreaming about tomorrow today. There you go, there's the llama. Not llama, the camel. Heard it in a love song. Heard it in a love song. Heard it in a love song. Can't be wrong. We should have never voted this mob into the game, guys. I'm gonna be for real. I regret it every day. At the break of dawn. You know what would have made this set better right here? This, not set, but this character better? If they extended this plate. If they put another one of these right here. Put like a... Nah, two stud plate. Like this right here, but this color. Same color. See? Like this. I think it would have made it better. Or if they made this black piece here. Yeah, if I show you. This black piece right here. If they just molded it the same plastic as this stuff. Same color, you know what I mean? Oh, this Lego is pre-damaged. It's pre-chipped. Okay. Tried to get off my mind. Something greener on the other side of that hill. I was born a wrangler and a raptor, and I guess I always will. Heard it in a love song. All our characters over there. Bum 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 bum. Bum ba-dum, ba-da-ba-da-bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum wow wow wow. Bum bum. Down at the station, Lord. I don't care where we go. Gonna climb a mountain, highest mountain. Jump off, nobody gonna know. Can't you see? Oh, can't you see what that woman, Lord, she been doing to me? Can't you see? Oh, can't you see what that woman, she been doing to me? I'm gonna find me a hole in the wall. Gonna crawl inside and die. Come on, lady, now. Neat old woman, Lord, never told me about. Can't you see? Oh, can't you see what that woman, Lord, she been doing to me? I don't like how it overhangs one this side. I'll boo-hoo about it later. As far as I can, ain't never coming back. I'm here southbound, all the way to Georgia now, till the train will run out of tracks. Can't you see? Oh, can't you see what that woman, Lord, been doing to me? Can't you see? Can't you see what that woman doing to me? Can't you see? Oh, can't you see what that woman, Lord, been doing to me? Can't you see? Oh, can't you see what that woman, she been doing to me? Crazy lady. Oh, it's a cactus. Oof. That's pretty cool, actually. Not gonna lie. It's easy to remove. That's cool. I would have still thought they should put the round black piece here to reduce the clutch power between this block and this block with this group of Legos and the base plate. Can't you see? And we got extras again. Look at that. So we got like a little camp. You got your little phantom because there's no bed. And then you got your little Steve. And he's obviously going to be standing on top of the building that barely looks like it could hold a leaf. Waiting for the guy to come down. And then you got your little llama, which stands off to the side. Let's get some stuff out of the way so we can put it up here at this one. Okay, put this up in there.
You're nobody till somebody loves you. You're nobody till somebody cares.
We've done 2 Lego sets so far. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna go take a quick break and go to the restroom.
And it's gold, but gold won't bring you happiness when you're growing old. The world still is the same, you never change it. As sure as the stars shine above, you're nobody till somebody loves you. So find yourself somebody to love. The world still is the same, you never change it. As sure as the stars shine above, well, you're nobody till somebody loves you. So find yourself somebody to love. Over and over, I keep going over the world we knew. Once when you walked beside me, that inconceivable, that unbelievable world we knew. When we two were in love, and every bright neon sign turned into stars, and the sun and the moon seemed to be ours. Each road that we took turned into gold, but the dream was too much for you to hold. Now over and over I keep going over the world we knew. Days when you used to love me.
Hi guys. I got some Hershey Kisses. Lego. Turns into gold.
But the dream was too much for
Now over and over, I keep going over the world we knew.
Used to love me. Over and over, I keep going over the world we
We built this one. Gonna go off to the side now. I think we should do the smaller one first. Oh, I forgot to take the bathroom off.
Something in my heart keeps saying, find some place is here. If I had it in my power, I'd arrange
For every girl to have your shine. And every minute, every hour.
every boy would find
Here.
what I found in your heart.
A new book.
Everybody loves somebody sometime. And although my dream was overdue, worth waiting for someone like you.
I will arrange for every girl to have your charm. You guys should take a drink of water too. Gotta stay hydrated together, kids. I gotta get that phone off of there so it doesn't get broken. Got a new screen coming in for it tomorrow. Tomorrow's Tuesday, right? Yeah, it's gotta be. Worth waiting for someone like you. I can sing, guys. It's mostly in my lower register. O is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore can love. Is all that I can give to you. Love is more than just a game for two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart and please don't break it. Love was made for me and you. Okay.
L
Is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore can love. Is all I can give to you. Love is more than just a game for two. Two when love can make it. Take my heart and please don't break it. Love was made for me and you. There. Yeah. I hit it with my pinky. Alright. For me and you. Alright, we can lower that volume down a little bit. Alrighty. Let's build more Legos, guys. Baby, squeeze me oh so tight. Show me that you love me too. To mine, dear, won't you kiss me once, baby? A kiss goodnight, maybe you and I will fall in love. Alright, now we got a wither skeleton. If there's a way, I'll find it someday. And there we go. On my shoulder, whisper in my ear, baby, I want you here. Tell me that you want me to. Okay, wait, I messed up there. Not gonna lie, chat. I haven't listened to this playlist in like probably a year. It's okay for your music taste to change. It's okay to forget things. It appears I'm missing a piece. Unless I'm stupid. Damn. I had to look on the camera. The camera shows the colors way differently than they are in real life. They're more vibrant in real life. If I could save time in a bottle, first thing that I'd like to do is to save every day till eternity passes away, just to spend them with you. Words could make wishes come true. Save every day like a treasure, and then again I would spend them with you. Seems to be enough time to do the things you wanna do once you find them. Enough to know you're the one I wanna go through time with.
and dreams that had never come true. The box would be empty except for the memory of how they were answered by you. But there never seems to be enough time to do the things you want to do once you find them. I've looked around enough to know you're the one I want to go through time with.
Bum bum. Bum bum. Dropped a piece.
Imagine me and you.
I do.
I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the kind of love and hold you tight. So happy together. If I should call you up, invest a dime, and you say you belong to me.
I need to get a better recording area so that I can just have an open mic. And then when I have an open mic, I'll just have music play through the speakers and it'll be even worse quality. But then I don't have to wear these stupid headset. This stupid headset. Baby, the skies will be blue. Will be blue or won't be blue?
No matter how they toss the dice,
I think that's it. Look at that.
so happy together.
That's pretty cool. Baby, the sky will be blue. It's incredibly off balanced. So this thing from this set would be perfect for this guy. Wherever his head is, there it is. See? And you wouldn't fall over. I'm sure I have another one of these pieces somewhere. I'll have to go look for it. I have tons of Legos. Like, I have just boxes and boxes and boxes of Lego sitting around here. And, just... I bought a bunch of Lego from this kid that was getting rid of it a couple years back. With the help of a friend, we carried it 6 blocks home. And, oh god, I just remember that kid. He's dead. He died. Really is sad. The kid as in my friend, not the kid that the Lego was. My friend that helped me carry it home. God rest his soul. Anyway, let's build some more Lego chat. Ba 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 ba.
Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore trees. Dream a little dream of me, yes. Say nighty night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you miss me. While I'm alone and blue as can be.
Dream a little dream of me.
Stars fading, but I linger on, dear. Still craving your kiss. I'm
I want to just have that. I want to just crop it, but I don't know how to crop it. Wait a moment. I think I know how to crop this. Wait. It's a transform, crop. Wait, yeah, I was doing that just a moment ago. Edit transform? Yes. Okay.
People.
Stars fade, but I linger on, dear. Still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear. Just saying this, yes. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find ya. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me. Yes, dream a little dream of me.
Be right back, chat.
When marimba rhythms start to play, dance with me, make me sway. Like a lazy ocean hugs the shore, hold me close, sway me more. Like a flower bending in the breeze, bend with me, sway with ease. But when you dance you have to pay with me, stay with me, sway with me. Other dancers may be on the floor, dear, but my eyes will see only you. Only you have that magic technique. When we sway, I go weak. I can hear the sound of violins long before it begins. Make me thrill as only you know how. Sway me smooth, sway me now. Other dancers may be on the floor, dear, but my eyes will see only you. Only you have that magic technique. When we sway, I go weak. I can hear the sound of violins long before it begins. Make me thrill as only you know how. Sway me smooth, sway me now. When marimba rhythms start to play, dance with me, make me sway. Like a lazy ocean hugs the shore, hold me close, sway me more. Like a flower bending in the breeze, bend with me, sway with ease. When we dance you have a way with me, stay with me, sway with me. When marimbas start to play, hold me close, make me sway. Like an ocean hugs the shore, hold me close, sway me more. Like a flower bending in the breeze.
sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you.
I'm back. I got sausage and eggs. I want this light to be less focused on that. See, that'd be perfect, but I can't hang it like that. You are all I long for, all that I worship. See? Sausage and eggs. Yummy. You. I should really extend this thing a little bit because I saw when I looked at it that it was a little messed up. On a cloudy day. There we go. The bees and the needs. I guess you say, what can make me feel this way? Talking about my girl. Okay. There we go. That's bigger, right? Yeah, that should help. Okay, I like this. I guess you say, my girl. I'm supposed to put this on this tiny plate, not this big one. I didn't count. Okay, there we go. It's all fixed. So that's what we got so far.
Unforgettable. That's what you are.
Unforgettable.
Though near or far.
Oh,
that clings to me. How the thought of you does things to me. Never before has someone been more unforgettable in every way. And forevermore, that's how you'll stay. That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too.
Cheers. Everyone, take a nice big sip of your cold water. Or tea. Or Dr. Pepper, Coke, whatever you're drinking.
Unforgettable in every way.
I wish this was lower down so you could see better. But I think it's probably as good as it's gonna get. Unless I zoom it in, but
That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too.
cut a bit at the top and a bit at the bottom. We can stretch this out a bit more, can't we? And then center it. There we go. That goes sailing somewhere. This is a stretched out thing. I like this better. Whatever this mode is. I'm gonna fix this. I think I like this. Yeah, it doesn't change anything after that. That's cool. Yeah, I like this. So long sailing. Okay, let's get back to actually doing Lego. Ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum.
I've got you.
Under my skin,
I've
got you. Deep in the heart of me, so deep in my heart that you're really a part of me. I've got you under my skin. Under my skin. Giving
I said,
to myself this affair never will go so well.
but why should I
Try to resist when, baby, I know so well.
I've got you.
Under my skin.
I'd sacrifice
Anything come what might.
for the sake
Oh, having you near.
in spite of a
Warning voice that comes in the night and repeats. How?
beats in my ear.
How?
Don't you know, little fool?
You never can win. You
Use
can.
your mentality.
Yeah, I'm messing up too much to be singing. We're fine.
Reality. But each time that I do, just the
Thought of you makes me stop before I begin. See, now we've got a little Strider buddy. I don't like block vomit here, not gonna lie. Oh, we're gonna fix that. Cool. Please work like this. Please work like I want it to. Please work like I want it to. Oh, it's not. Okay, this is fine. This is fine. This is fine. This is fine.
I would sacrifice anything, come what might, for the sake of having you.
See, I did a dummy, and I had this red flipped here, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that'll work. It didn't. Did a dummy. A little fool, you never can win.
Why not use your mentality? Step up.
Wake up to reality. Each time I do, just the thought of you makes me stop just before I begin. 'Cause I've got you under my skin. We got a little buddy now. He's top heavy, but that's okay. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. Woman, oh woman, don't you treat me so mean. The meanest old woman that I've ever seen. Guess if you say so, I have to pack my things and go. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. care if you do. Understood. Good. You say so. I have to pack my things and go. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. I caught it. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. No more. No more.
You can't mean that. Oh, now, baby, please.
Another one bites the dust.
Walks merrily down the street with the brim pulled way down low. Ain't no sound but the sound of his feet. Machine guns ready to go. Are you ready? Hey, are you ready for this? Are you hanging on the edge of your
And we've built the Minecraft. That's like a little nether fortress set here. I wish there had a full fortress where it had like, so you know how the fortress generates where it has little towers, then you have the bridges going across the little towers, and then you have the blaze spawner. They made a little one of those that was like this big. Like a foot across. It'd be pretty cool. Now we got two choices. We can either do the nether portal, and they'll kind of go together and continue the theme of the nether, or we could do this one. I think we can do this one. Just to continue our theme of smallest set to biggest set. Because the biggest set we got is over here, and it's over 1,000 pieces, I believe. I've already done quite a bit of it. It's 1,065 pieces. I've done probably the 65 pieces of it. I sort through the pieces later, and I put them into individual little pieces later. I'm just gonna put them in there until I can sort through them. You should be in there. You should be in another place. I'm not sure which one. I forgot what that button did, not gonna lie. How lucky can one guy be? I kissed her and she kissed me. Ain't that a kick in the head? The room was completely black. I hugged her and she hugged back. Till I said, quote, ain't that a hole in a boat? Spinning, I go to sleep and keep grinning. If this is supposed to be beginning, my life is gonna be beautiful. Eyes sunshine enough to spread.
It's just like the fella said. Tell me quick.
Ain't that a kick in the head? Okay. I'll have to figure that out some other time. I just sneezed. I'm so sorry for that. Fly with me, let's fly away.
If you can use some exotic booze, there's a bar in far Bombay. Come fly with me, let's fly away. Come fly with me, let's float down to Peru. In Llama Land, there's a one-man band and he'll toot his flute for you. Come fly with me, let's take off in the blue. Once I get you up there where the air is rarefied, we'll just glide starry-eyed. Once I get you up there, I'll be holding you so near. You may hear angels cheer, 'cause we're together. Weatherwise, it's such a lovely day. Just say the words and we'll beat the birds down to Acapulco Bay. It's perfect for a flying honeymoon, they say. Come fly with me, let's fly away. Once I get you up there where the air is rarefied, we'll just glide
Starry-eyed,
Once I get you
up there, I'll be holding you so near. You may hear angels cheer because we're together.
Weatherwise, it's such a lovely day. You just say the words and we'll beat the birds down to Acapulco Bay. It's perfect for a flying honeymoon.
That's what he looks like.
They say, come fly with me, let's fly.
Back up and let's fly away. Here's a tip, by the way. You get minifigs like this. If you ever so slightly tilt their legs back, it pushes their center of gravity back. It makes them stand easier. I'm in heaven.
My heart beats so that I can hardly speak, and I seem to find the happiness I seek when we're out together dancing cheek to cheek.
There's a good song.
Heaven,
I'm in heaven.
and the
My-
hairs that hung
Where
around
does this go?
me through the week
That's probably for later in the set.
seem to vanish like a gambler's lucky streak when we're out together
Where's the back piece?
cheek to cheek.
There it is.
Oh, I love to climb a mountain and to reach the highest peak, but it doesn't thrill me half as much as dancing cheek to cheek. Oh, I love to go out fishing in a river or a creek, but I don't enjoy it half as much as dancing cheek to cheek. Dance with me.
Dancing and fishing, my two favorite things on the planet. Two most favorite things on the planet, I should say.
Will carry me through to heaven. I'm in heaven, and my heart beats so that I can hardly speak, and I seem to find the happiness I seek when we're out together dancing cheek to cheek. I'm making believe that you're in my arms, though I know you're so far away. Making believe I'm talking to you, wish you could hear what I say. And here in the gloom of my lonely room, we're dancing like we used to do. You make me feel so young. You make me feel so spring has sprung. And every time I see you grin, I'm such a
Happy individual.
the moment that you speak. I wanna go play hide and seek. I wanna go and bounce the moon just like a toy balloon. You and I are just like a couple of tots running across a meadow, picking up lots of forget-me-nots. You make me feel so young. You make me feel there are songs to be sung, bells to be rung, and a wonderful fling to be flung. And even when I'm old and gray, I'm gonna feel the way I do today, 'cause you make me feel so make me feel so spring has sprung. And every time I see you grin, I'm such a happy individual. The moment that you speak, I wanna go and play hide and seek. I wanna go and bounce the moon just like a toy balloon. You and I are just like a couple of tots running across a meadow.
Picking up lots of forget-me-nots.
You make me feel so young. You make me feel there are songs to be sung, bells to be rung, wonderful fling to be flung. And even when I'm old and gray, I'm gonna feel the way I do today. 'Cause you make me feel so young. You make me feel so young. You make me feel so young. Ooh, you make me feel so young.
I never cared much for moonlit skies. I never winked back at fireflies. But now that the stars are in your eyes, I'm beginning to see the light. I never went in for afterglow or candlelight on the mistletoe. But now when you turn the lamp down low, I'm beginning to see the light. Used to ramble through the park, shadow boxing in the dark. Then you came and caused a spark that's a 4-alarm fire now. I never made love by lantern shine. I never saw rainbows in my wine. But now that your lips are burning mine, I'm beginning to see the light.
I never cared much for moonlit skies. I never winked back at fireflies. But now that the stars are in your eyes, I'm
Beginning to see the light.
I never went in for afterglow or candlelight on the mistletoe. But now when you turn the lamp down low, I'm beginning to see the light. Used to ramble through the park, shadow boxing in the dark. Then you came and caused a spark that's a 4-alarm fire now. I never made love by lantern shine. I never saw rainbows in my wine. But now that your lips are burning mine, I'm beginning to see the light, boy. Beginning to see the light, boy. Beginning to see the light. Now that your lips there, you're burning on mine, I'm beginning to see the light.
Be sure it's true when you say
I love you.
it's a sin.
It's a sin to tell a lie.
Millions of hearts have been broken just because these words were spoken. I love you.
Yes, I do. I love you.
If
You break my heart, I'll die. So be sure it's true when you say I love you. It's a sin to tell a lie. Wait, yesterday was Sunday, was it not? Yeah. And so the 14th was actually 2 days ago. I should have streamed 2 days ago. Done this exact thing. I've had all these Lego sets since Christmas. So should have done it the 14th and just sat here and done Legos quietly. In this corner of the internet where no one visits. You, yes I do. I love you. If you break my heart, I'll die. Be sure it's true when you say I love you. It's a sin to tell a lie. Here's your missile defense system.
Give me a kiss to build a dream on, and my imagination will thrive upon that kiss. Sweetheart, I ask no more than this, a kiss to build a dream on. Give me a kiss before you leave me, and my imagination will feed my hungry heart. Leave me one thing before we part, a kiss to build a dream on.
I didn't see where this torch goes. It just had me build a torch for no reason. I'm just gonna stick it right there. Actually, here we go. I just dumped out those Legos. They're in this stupid crate thing. You gotta pour some Craggle in there. Me right here. This is where you like put some like tile, right? And you connect them up. Actually, you put this on like black stud or black 2x2 pieces, and then it races it up by that margin, and then you build it from there so that everything's lifted up. You have space to make terrain configurations. Extra pieces. One more Lego set, guys. Or not one more Lego set, but one more Minecraft Lego set. The last Minecraft Lego set. So you can see all the ones we've done over there. I'll be right back, chat. I'm gonna go get a jacket because I am cold. Oop-a-doop-a-doop. Live in my hometown. Dear hometown. Never let you down. Oh, we're gonna move this so people can see that we're doing Lego. Okay, BRB.
I've got a dream house. I'll build there one day with picket fence and rambling road. I feel so welcome each time that I return, that my happy heart keeps laughing like a clown. I love those dear hearts and gentle people who live and love in my hometown. They read the good book from Friday till Monday. That's how the weekend goes. I've got a dream house. I'll build there one day with picket fence and rambling rose. I feel so welcome each time that I return, that my happy heart keeps laughing like a clown. Like a clown. I love those dear hearts and gentle people who live and love in my hometown. In my hometown. Those dear hearts and gentle people who live in my hometown. I'll never smile again until I smile at you. I'll never laugh again. What good would it do? For tears would fill my eyes, my heart would realize that our romance I'll never love again. I'm so in love with you. I'll never again.
Alright guys, I'm back with a hoodie this time.
Within my heart, I know I will never stop to smile again until I smile at you. Within my heart, I know I will never start to smile again until I smile at you.
Paper bag this time. Their whole thing is plastic toys, and so they've decided to start using plastic bags with their Maybe paper bags with their plastic toys. Great idea, I'm telling you. You'll save so much of the environment. This is terrible. Paper has a tendency to grab things when it shouldn't. Chrysanthemum. Bum 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 bum. I don't like that guy. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Oh. It's a create mod engineer. You'd have a potato gun, not a diamond sword. Bum 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 bum.
If you're blue, you don't know where to go.
Go to, why don't you go where fashion sits? Putting on the Ritz. And front points of pants or stripes or
Coat, perfect fits.
putting on the Ritz.
Dressed up like a
Millionaire.
$1,000,000 trooper.
Millionaire.
Trying hard to
Look like Gary Cooper.
a super duper. Come, let's mix.
Rockefellers rock with sticks and umbrellas in the mix.
Putting on
The Ritz. Oh, this is an anvil. That's cute. That's cool. That's pretty cool.
If you're
to? Why don't you go where fashion sits? Putting on the Ritz.
Putting on the Ritz.
Dressed up like a
$1 million trooper. Trying hard to look like Gary Cooper.
Super duper. Come, let's mix where Rockefellers walk with sticks or umbrellas in their mitts. Putting on the Ritz.
I want the old terracotta textures back. I like them so much.
Putting on the Ritz. The Ritz.
Just like in Minecraft, I ruined it. Okay, there we go. Over and I love this song. Over and over, I keep going over the world we knew. Once when you walked beside me, that inconceivable, that unbelievable world we knew. When we two were in love, every bright neon sign turns into gold. It turns into gold, isn't it? Sun and the moon seem to be ours. Each road that we took turns into gold. Sam makes up 2 lines. Dream was too much for you to hold. Now over and over I keep going over the world we knew. Days when you used to love me. And every bright neon sign turned into stars.
And the sun and the moon
Seem to be ours. Each road that we took turned into gold. A dream was too much for you to hold. Now over and over I keep going over the world we knew. Days when you used to love me. Keep going over the world we knew. Oh. No. Out of the trees of life, you just pick me plum.
You came along and everything started into hum. Still
It's a real good bet. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine?
You think you've seen
Wait.
the sun, but
1,
you
2,
ain't
3,
seen
4,
it
5,
shine.
6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. Yep.
Wait till the warm-up's underway. Wait till our lips have met. And wait till you see that sunshine day. You ain't seen nothing yet.
The best is yet to come, and babe, won't that be fine? The best is yet to come, come the day you're mine.
Come the day you're mine, I'm gonna teach you to fly. We've only tasted the wine, we're gonna drain the cup dry. Wait till your charms are ripe for these arms to surround. You think you've flown before, but baby,
You ain't left the ground.
Wait till you're locked in my embrace. Wait till I draw you near. Wait till you see that sunshine place. Ain't nothing like it here. The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine? The best is yet to come, come the day you're mine.
I'm just gonna clean this up a little bit.
Come the day you're mine, and you're gonna be mine.
Put these over here in the corner. Yeah.
I don't want to set the world fire.
I just want to start a flame in your heart. In my heart I have but one desire, and that one is you. No other will do. I've lost all ambition, worldly acclaim. I just want to be the one you love. And with your ambition, that you feel the same, I'll have reached the goal I'm dreaming of. Believe me, I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart.
I don't want to set the world.
It's a cool little armor stand design.
I love you too much. I just want to start.
A great big flame down in your heart.
You see, way down inside of me,
Darling, I have only one desire.
and that one desire is you.
And I know nobody else ain't gonna do. I've lost all ambition, a worldly acclaim. I just wanna be the one you love. And with your admission that you feel the same,
I'll have reached the goal I'm dreaming of. Believe me, I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart.
wish on the moon and love for the golden rainbow. you'll find happy times. This isn't like the old chest. The old one has a curve and with their studs on top. I have the old chest somewhere. I have a couple of them.
In the heart of a
Bluebird, and you'll find happy times.
Though things may look very dark, your dream is not in vain. For when do you find a rainbow? Only after rain. So wish
On the moon, and someday, maybe tomorrow, you will suddenly hear joy.
and you'll have your happy, happy So wish
On the moon, and someday, maybe tomorrow,
you
will suddenly hear chimes.
and you'll have
A happy, happy time. Wrong way.
Now this could only happen to
A guy like me
and
only happen in a town like this.
So may I say to each of you most gratefully, as I throw each one of you a kiss, this is
My kind of town, Chicago is. My kind of town, Chicago is.
my kind of
Go
people,
to
people who
smile at you, and each time I roam, Chicago is.
calling me home.
Chicago is.
Why I just grin like a clown. It's my kind of town. My kind of town, Chicago is.
My kind of town, Chicago is.
My kind of
Razzmatazz.
and it has
Has.
all that jazz, and each time I leave, Chicago is
Crap.
tugging my
Crap.
sleeve.
Crap. Mega crap.
Chicago is the Wrigley Building. Chicago is the Union Stockyard. chase you down. It's my kind of town.
A buzzard took a
Monkey
monkey for a
ride in the air.
The monkey thought that everything was almost fair. The buzzard tried to throw the
Monkey off of his back, but the monkey
grabbed his neck and said, "Now
listen,
listen,
Jack.
Jack.
Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and
fly
fly right. I don't remember the rest of this song,
Straighten
not
up
gonna lie.
and fly right.
Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top.
Ain't no use in diving.
Ain't
What's the
no
use
use
of diving? Straighten
up and fly right. Go down, Papa, don't you blow your top.
The buzzard told the monkey, "You are choking me.
Release your hold and I will set you free."
The monkey looked the buzzard right
Dead in the eyes, it's only so touching. It sounds just like a lie. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Go down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Ba-da, ba-da-da-da-da. So like they enter. Oh. Another. I like that. Choking me, release your hold, and I will set you free. Buzzard right dead in the eye and said, "Just always so touching, it sounded like a lie." See, I like that too. Up and stay right. So it'd be like that, and then you get your nether portal at the bottom. Go down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Well, that's all the Minecraft Lego sets for the day. Oh, that was a lot of Minecraft. Oh, it didn't even tell me where to put this stuff on here. Here. Put this down. Ta-da. And now the end is near, and so I faced the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I wanted my chest to go between that, which you would be able to do in Minecraft, because Minecraft is an awesome game, and Lego is less awesome. Much more than this. It's almost as awesome. Maybe we should play some Minecraft instead of building this 6th Lego set and leave that 6th Lego set for later. For another stream. I think that's a wise decision because Lego is hard. Specifically that set, it's really hard to comprehend because it's not an official Lego set. Did what I had to do. Saw it through without exemption.
I planned each charted course.
Alright, here's what we're gonna do. We're going to live stream some Minecraft. Oh. Traditional Minecraft. Your story so touching it sounds like a lie. we're gonna turn off the webcam because there's no need for it now. Also, because I'm gonna have to like remove it and everything just to get it set up to see me. And I don't want to mess with it, to be honest. So. Turn this light off now. Okay, guys. That should be all good. There we go. Minecraft audio should be coming through now. Okay. Guys, it is time to play one of the best games of all time. Minecraft. Minecraft. Ignore all my worlds. Ooh, pigs. I don't typically play modern Minecraft, but we're gonna play for funsies. Bum 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 bum. Bum bum bum. It should all be better. Nice, some lava. Good stuff. Good stuff indeed. Copper, that's pretty cool. We need coal. Yep. Bum. I forgot to change the category to Minecraft. Okay, that's fixed. Okay. Bum 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 bum. Coal. I like coal because it heats my home in Minecraft. I actually really like the modern copper pickaxes, not gonna lie. Axes and pickaxes, I just like the look of them. Move down, pop it, don't you blow your top. Should be copper shears in the game. I found out that iron is way harder to get in this newer version than it is in any other version of the game. So, that's why I make copper tools, dude, not gonna lie. Over here, bull. Only one piece of meat? Jeez, this is hard. Huh. We're gonna use this for charcoal. One more sheepies? There's the one more sheepies. Oh, well, we got a bed now. Let's go over there, because I like that biome much better than the savannah. Your story's so touching, it sounds just like a lie. gonna slaughter some pigs tonight. Da da dun 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 dun. Got enough. Okay. Piggies and horses. Lots of horses. Too bad I don't got a saddle. Piggy. 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 Okay, we've got enough meat. I just decimated the population of this pig area. This is a cool area to build. Release your hold and I will set you free. Oh, look the monkey right dead in the eye and said, your story's so touching it sounds just like a lie. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. The monkey looked the buzzard right dead in the eye. Not the buzzard looked the monkey dead in the eye. Monkey looking at the buzzard because the buzzard wants to eat him alive. Or actually get him dead because he wants to drop him from a high fall and kill him and then eat his corpse. That was terrible. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Gobble! Gobble, gobble. Here we go. I'd rather have an orange bed than a brown one. It's find somewhere to make base camp for a while. Okay. I like placing blocks and stuff because I'm in freaking Minecraft. Stop freaking out, Daniel. You'll be fine. You're not gonna be fine. You're not going to be fine. You're not going to be fine. You're not going. I saved that, dude. Did you see that? Like, I placed that bed down because I thought I was about to burn to death. That was so comp, dude. That was so comp. We're gonna go down there and base down there, because I want to base in a cave. I haven't done a cave base in a long time. Hello. Huh? Hi, welcome to the live stream. How are you doing today? I'm doing just fine. They can't hear you. Yeah, I've been on too many Discord calls where people have said obscene things and gotten me in trouble. So no more Discord. No more Discord for live streams. I don't trust you. I know. That's the point. Huh? Yeah, go ahead. Is that glass? Is that obsidian glass? Look up obsidian glass. Look it up, that's what it looks like. It most definitely looks like that kind of glass. Anyway, where was I at? Tempered glass doesn't quite look like that, I believe. We're playing Minecraft on live, dude. I can't analyze. It's because it's all I can tell you is it's naturally forming. It's got a dark what's it called? It's the luster of it is dark. It's got a dark luster. So therefore it has to be made of a darker mineral. It's probably some kind of quartz based glass, because that's how you get a lot of the natural glasses is through quartz. So that's about all I can tell you. It's probably not silica based. It's probably quartz based. But you can get silica from quartz. It's complicated. Huh? Yeah. I think that little pressure washing business you had was really impactful for you. With with the development and everything. Mm-hmm. That sounds amazing. I love that, dude. Holy cleanse of fire. Mm-hmm. Eyes preoccupied. I was listening the entire time. You like those boots a lot. They're synthetic, and they were very impactful for your time. That was not very good. Roughly. Mm. Put a bullet through him. Sure. Ew. You have 30 seconds of attention. They're pretty cool. They look comfy. You are a clown, so it makes sense. Nah, I'm chilling, dog. I keep them and use them when needed. You see, as a poor person, I would not destroy a pair of boots, for real, for real. Who knows, in 20 years you might end up needing them. $13 and a half. 13 and a half, I mean, I'm a 12 and a half, so. A good possibility. You know what they say about that? Six foot, even. Almost. Yeah. You know what else is proportionate? No, that's not what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, you know, it's everything is proportionate. So like the length of your nose is also like the length is also proportional to like the length of your thumb or something like that. And then the length of your forearm is proportional to the length of your foot or something like that. More than likely, that's why. That's good. Bless you. You should still say bless you either way. God bless. Because. Sorry, what? I wasn't paying attention. Bless you. Of course, Kurt. See, what? You said nitroglycerin? Oh. Well, I'm not as excited anymore, never mind. Yep. I did. I want pure gold, and I want it in the shape of a knife, because I collect knives, and knives are cool. No, I don't collect CSGO knives, but I collect knives. Because knives are cool. CSGO knives are for babies and degenerates. I do not collect CSGO knives. Yeah. Yeah. My dad said that the knife that I showed you was originally his knife back in the day that a friend of his stole, and then my uncle stole from that kid, and then my uncle gave it to me, and that's how it came, and that's how it circled back. I don't know. My dad got it stolen from him. My uncle stole it from the guy that stole it from my dad, and my dad saw me have it. He was like, wait, I had that exact same knife. That's the chip I put in it. I put that chip there. It's okay. I mean, it's not great, but it's not terrible. I think you have. It's a decent one. Yeah. Probably has a little... Yeah. I sharpen all my own knives. It's soothing for me to sharpen a knife. So I'll sit there for like an hour sharpening a knife until I get it nice and razor, and then I'll use it for, I test it out by cutting some like arm hair or something. And then I've used knives I've sharpened to cook before. That's how sharp I've gotten them. That knife that that elk knife, I've gotten it so sharp to the point where it can cut right through leather, like thick cow's leather, like real leather. Yeah, so it's a real nice one. Sure. No, we chilling, dog. Yeah, I know what a buck knife is, yeah. It looks like it. Buck knives are typically the cheap, ones that are, they're usually made out of cheaper materials. They don't have good build quality, but they'll last a long time if you take care of them and you make sure you keep them sharpened and everything. They're good knives. It's just they don't have the best build quality. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Never do that. Yeah, you'll cut yourself. That doesn't mean you're gonna cut your hand off if you accidentally slip your hand while you're trying to close it. I mean, just don't be stupid and you'll be fine. I know. You're an itty-bitty child. Yeah. Yeah, all my knives have that side latch, except for my full tang ones. What's the purpose of having a knife if you can't have it open? Something stupid a child would do. The only things I've ever used a knife for is cutting open, like my knives, like the ones I collect. The only things I've ever used them for is opening boxes. Sometimes I'll cut meat with them. Like I'll go get a piece of chicken or something, I'll cut it open, and I'll use it to clean up, dress meat, whatever. I mean, I haven't gone hunting, but I'll make sure I bring a couple of my buck knives and my nice big full tang. The elk one I showed you a while back. I'll make sure to bring that one with me, because I know that one will cut right through deer hide. So, yeah. Coyote hunting sounds fun. Well, I mean, if you hunt coyotes, I'm pretty sure in certain parts of the country you can get a reward for bringing in their hide, and then also their hide is It's not the best looking, but it's also not ugly either. I mean, it's a decent looking hide. So I would take it just to have something to make rug out of, you know what I'm saying? What? They can. I already did. Mm-hmm. 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 Shoot him. You should do that. What? Why would you do that? Well, the thing is a gun like that doesn't really lose any value with you shooting it. A gun like that specifically, because those guns they're made out of a hardened material. They won't degrade like that quickly. It would take thousands and thousands of shots for you to even degrade it slightly. That gun was built for war. Emotional, yes. Mm-hmm. That's fair. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're supposed to take them apart. Mm-hmm. Mm. Did you use a paint thinner to get it out? Okay, good. I was gonna say, if you used use a paint thinner, you're gonna have some problems later on with the metal weakening. Especially if it's aircraft grade. Mm-hmm. There's no need for that. It's a perfect war rifle. It doesn't need anything. Mm-hmm. It doesn't push as hard as a lot of the other ones, but it still has some stopping power. I mean, if you're shooting for sport and not for hunting or anything, you don't need something big. You just need something for sport. That's why you like your Lee Enfield there, is because the recoil on it is not the same as that big old 12 gauge, and how its recoil is so heavy with that 12 gauge, and that 20 gauge is lighter recoil, and the Lee Enfield is even lighter than that. So you get the pleasure of shooting something, but and seeing you progress and hit a target, but you don't feel all the pushback. You still feel a little bit of it, which is the thrill part, but the what's it called? It's not hurting your shoulder as it would, with all that power. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're just learning, dude. I watched the ones that you've sent me before. Give me a moment. I gotta find my stuff in Minecraft before it despawns. Yeah, you don't want to lock your arms like that. I mean, you want to lock them, but you don't want to lock them like that. You want to brace. You want to brace. You don't want to full lock. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I will in a moment. I can't find the hole that I went down to get my to go mining. You're okay, buddy. Yeah, that's a good possibility. That can also happen from low and or high blood pressure. I mean, is it glycemic or something like that? I don't know. Mine too. It's not down there. That's so smart, buddy. You should probably go back. I can't remember where I went. Where did I go? I can't find where I was building earlier. Not building, but where I went. Because this is not it. This is not the hole. Yeah, it's not it. Go around this side and just go on this side of the mountain. I'll lose all my stuff because of that zombie. I'm gonna be very upset. Or a skeleton, I mean. I've been playing this game for a little over an hour now. In a new world. Have I lost all of my materials because of that one skeleton? Ooh hoo hoo. Not very happy. No being annoying in my ear. Okay, be quiet. I'm watching this video.